This is Palworld. We're here on Xbox One. That's right, the base Xbox One. For morbid curiosity, I thought I would go and take a look at this version of the game just to kind of, see how it's looking and everything like that. So be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. I don't know if it looks worse on my particular screen than it does for you watching this on, the video, the YouTube, everything like that, but it is like sub 720p, probably like 500 or 600p, and it kind of looks like it's dynamic resolution scaling, or that could just be like really slow like texture load in. Now, it may sound a little wild, but I guess at some points this can so it's kind of like, I guess you would call it on cap, but it's 60 FPS is like the target. Like it doesn't look like they capped it. So it's kind of like it'll run sub 30, like 30-ish FPS, sub 30 FPS, but it can go up a little bit more to like maybe like 32, 30, like just a little bit over 30 FPS, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's like a little bit more fluid. So yeah, she's a bit rough. It takes longer to load. The draw distance is a lot more muddled, and yeah, the performance can really quite tank in this one. But actually, on the video player for recording, it looks a lot better than it does on the big 4K screen. It's yeah, it's a bit rough around the edges, and it runs really badly, especially when you have like a lot of your pals, your Pokemon out there doing stuff. Like, it's like this is pretty slideshowy right now. But I mean, if you're just doing basic survival stuff and you don't have like a base going, I guess maybe it would be a bit better. Like this raid here is just like, it's probably like 10, 15 FPS or something like that. It was really just like the morbid curiosity and the fact that it's so popular, this game right now. I was kind of like, you know what? It'd be kind of interesting to take a look at this on the platform and just kind of get a feel for it, see what it's like, showcase it off. Because I have been having a lot of fun playing this. And obviously it's a very popular title. And I was just kind of like, what would be really interesting is seeing this game that's got its, UE5 focus, Unreal Engine 5 focus for development. And just kind of seeing how it kind of looks here on the Xbox One. And, it's kind of about what I expected. I actually somewhat expected it to be worse, so I don't think it's too bad overall for how old this platform is. I just honestly can't believe we're still making games for this console, honestly, at this point. I mean, if you're still on the Xbox One, it's great for you and stuff like that. I'm not, it is what it is. You're working on what you're working on. But, yeah, I can't believe they actually put the effort in to make this run on here. I mean, it works, so, yeah, I mean, this kind of leads way well for this being like a Switch title if they wanted to, I suppose. What was I trying to make? Well, that was a waste of that ball. Sorry, there's like all this in-depth stuff for like building things and creating stuff. We needed, oh, a high-quality workbench. 10 nails. We need more ingots. Yeah, okay, so 10 nails. How many nails do we have? Not enough. Do we have anyone that will work on this? So if you're not familiar with this game, the idea is it's essentially like a combination of things. So it's Pokemon in the sense that you catch, but then it's also like a base management game. But then it's also like a survival crafting game. So it's kind of like Ark or Conan meets Pokemon catching, and then there's like a management layer on there. So the goal is you kind of like, you have all these creatures, and they're essentially working as, like, slaves for you. Like, you automate everything in your base. So, like, I'm here doing this. Usually we don't have a handiwork creature right now, which is a pain. But like, you know, the wool, the giant sheep thing that's giving wool. We got the chicken for like eggs. You know, some of the creatures they bring back and forth. We got one that collects wood, one that collects rocks. We got some that like take care of the crops. They do the farming, and you're essentially, you know, you're managing a little bit of a like a society, as to say, and it's genuinely quite intriguing. And then you've got your squad, so you can have your home base here automated, so that these creatures are like, you know, doing their job, doing their thing, and then you can go out and you can adventure with your party. And there's like boss battles, and we're gonna show off a little bit of the world. I just kind of wanted to get some of that going, so we're gonna go to bed, and then I'm gonna go out there and see the greater world and kind of showcase how that's all running and stuff like that. But just wanted to give you an idea of like the home life stuff here, because it's like, yeah, you gotta automate your whole setup, and then it's just generating, you know, resources and stuff for you. It's really, really genuinely quite intriguing. Like, I really do like what they've kind of designed for this. It's quite cool. And then you've got your party of Pokemon, your pals, and you go out on these adventures, and you go and you either try to catch new creatures, or you're like killing them in order to like gain XP. I guess we're killing the sheep here. And it's kind of like a simple system. Like, I would use the bat if I wanted to, you know, kind of catch them, if that makes sense. Like, I would bat them, and then they'd be injured a bit more and easier to catch. And it's a whole system in this one where the idea is that you are, you know, managing your inventory, managing your collection, but you're like building up this sort of structuring, you're gathering resources. And then with your more capable stuff, you're going out there into the greater world. Now, there's multiplayer to this as well, and I do think the Xbox One would kind of buckle a bit more, kind of going in that direction if you were trying to attempt some multiplayer stuff. So, you know, just keep that in mind if you are wanting to play with others, that the multiplayer, there might be some deeper levels of performance issues in this one, which I guess would just kind of go in the territory of playing on this platform all these years later. I don't really do a whole lot of Xbox One stuff at this point. It really is, again, just whenever I get a little bit of a morbid level of curiosity for a kind of game where I'm kind of like, I do ponder, because this one is like, it looks really nice and kind of clean on the Xbox One. Or, sorry, the Xbox Series X, not the Xbox One. But like on the Series X, it looks like nice and clean, but the performance isn't like great. And then on the Series S, the performance is kind of like, it looks okay. And then it's just kind of neat to like come here and take a look and compare it to this version, if that makes sense. Kind of like the lowest end possible. Because I was surprised that this one even was playable on this platform. I was just kind of like, oh wow, that is a genuine kind of surprise that I didn't see coming. Like, I kind of just assumed that they would sort of like, you know, leave this all behind. But yeah, I mean, extra players and stuff like that, it's kind of great. But I think the biggest thing you're noticing here, I don't know if you've seen the Series X or the Series S version, is again like the really, really muddy kind of low resolution trees that kind of load in, but also the draw distance. Like, you still get to see, like, you know, you can see the big mountains out in the distance and stuff, and that's great. But like, you will notice a lot more popping as you're moving through of creatures. So like, that does make it a little bit harder for you to find and catch the pals. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but it's kind of like in the sense of, you know, you're not going to really be noticing them if you're kind of running by, and unless you kind of like really look, because it's going to take a second for them to pop in. And like, a big part of the game is kind of like looking and being like, oh, there's a creature over there, and then going and catching it, right? Well, I guess if you haven't played this, you don't really know that, I suppose. But that is a big aspect of this experience, is when you're exploring, that you can look outwards, a little bit up or a little bit to the side, and be like, oh, that's a critter I'm missing. I want to, you know, I want to add that to my collection. And I do think that is an aspect of the game that is a little, you know, kind of negative for the Xbox One version. I mean, the fact this is running and actually, like, okay-ish, you know, is great, but, like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not, like, blown away by this version of the game. I don't know if I even would expect to be. I would just say I'm kind of, I think overall, just surprised that we have this even running here and not just like completely tanking. But I mean, this isn't like an ideal way to play this game. This is kind of like, you know, if you have it, it's a way to play it. I think it's frozen. It crashes a bit, and the sound's a bit muffled too. Yeah, it looks like the game is maybe frozen. Okay. That's great. At least the game does have like a really good kind of quick save kind of system, if that makes sense. I haven't seen that before. That's more of like a soft lock kind of thing, like a freeze. Mostly it can crash. I've seen a few times on Series X, a little bit on S. But yeah, I haven't seen it freeze before, so that's kind of a new thing. That's why we do these videos, taking a look at it. Ah, that's really genuinely interesting. And this is where again you can kind of see the whole process of like it it takes a bit to get it rolling, you know what I mean? And if you do like this one, you know, outside of Palworld, they did make Craftopia quite a while back, and that's their sort of like, well, actually this is more of an evolution upon that. So they did Craftopia, which was kind of like Breath of the Wild, you know, like Zelda meets open world survival. And then this is that version where they've now added this whole catching mechanic, and they've kind of changed things up a bit. But it's got the same sort of things with like the climbing, the maneuvering, the way you use like stamina and stuff like that. I don't think it really needs to have like a story type thing to it. Like it is game preview, so it's gonna like evolve over time. I wouldn't expect, you know, crazy feats of improvement over the, you know, on the Xbox One version of this game, but you know, it does, like, they evolve it, right? So it does improve. Holy, this takes forever. Ah, I wanted the alpacas. No. Oh, my pickaxe is broken too. Great. Yeah, that's lovely. So anyways, it's just like, it's kind of like, oh, this is runs on here, so that's cool. That's kind of the big thing to take away from this, is it kind of runs. I am never ever going to be able to catch alpacas in this game, am I? It's like that literally just was not meant to be a thing for me. Oh, here they are. The alpacas. I just can't catch these creatures. They either die or they kill me, and it's just a pain. But anyways, the big thing I really look at here is kind of like the idea of like where this could potentially go. Like, oh, you know what I'm doing? Instead of throwing to catch, I just keep unleashing this this angry creature. No, I want the Capridy out here. Capridy, I choose you, because you've got like a crew of creatures, right? And you're trying to like catch them. This really makes it like kind of harder to do the catching and stuff in the combat when it like runs like a slideshow like this. Holy, okay, hopefully we can catch this creature now. You're not supposed to kill them, we want to catch them. These balls are so hard to make. See, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I am never gonna be able to catch the alpacas. It's just, it's not meant to be for me. It's just not a thing I'm gonna be able to accomplish ever. Like, I guess I could put one of the Pokemon away and still attack it, but like, yeah. It's like I'm just literally not allowed to do this sort of thing. It really kills me. But you get these like expansive worlds, like there's big, you know, like environments, and there's bosses, and there's like all these, I wouldn't necessarily say like hidden secrets, but there's a lot of stuff you can kind of come across on your adventures, things you can see. It's really, really intriguing from that perspective, because you're sort of like, you know, you're out on this adventure, and it's like, oh, what am I going to come across? And yeah, this is just not the prettiest sort of thing. Like, a lot of this is like really, really bad texture loading for this part, but I get it, you know. all things considered, it's not horribly like it's playable on Xbox One. That is the biggest thing to get across is that this is like quote unquote playable, right? If you're expecting some sort of crazy well-running experience on this old console platform, I think you're, a little crazy at this point, but I am just absolutely floored that this is even running on here. I'm wondering what's gonna be like one of the last. Oh, there's a dungeon cave over there. One of the last supported games on Xbox One, because the ones I have kind of taken a look back on, I'm kind of just like, wow. It is amazing that they're still kind of pushing this along, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's intriguing. I guess the perspective of someone that's still playing on Xbox One all the time would be kind of interesting on this game. Because, like, to me, it's a bit of a thing in curiosity, if that makes sense. Like, an intriguing, like, sort of, oh, how is this handling? What's it looking like? What's the experience like here? Oh, there goes that world event. And it's like, again, keep in mind, it's game preview, right? So that's the biggest thing is like, the experience we're getting here isn't one that's like acceptable for the level of what this platform is on Xbox One. Is kind of like, it runs, quote unquote. It definitely runs, which is fine, but yeah, it can be a bit rough doing the whole reloading, getting back into the game, having to wait for everything to turn on, and I do personally. I think it's a little bit more crashy and bad performance and stuff. It's just like you're seeing some of the areas where it's just like straight up, slideshowy during combat, or slideshowy during the catching part of the game, and that's like the fun core loop of it is when you're catching, doing your base stuff, and where it runs the worst is in those scenarios. Kind of just makes it a little less enjoyable. And as I did say, it's game preview, so it can improve to a degree, but I don't think the full development is gonna really be on the Xbox One side of things. I actually think if they do add more features and stuff, that the Xbox One version would suffer further, if that makes sense, as opposed to necessarily getting better. Like, even straight up capping it at like 30, it still goes well below 30, so yeah, I think you're not getting huge improvements on there. Oh, it really is interesting that the Syndicate stuff didn't like kind of vanish. Usually when it like reloads the world, it like reshuffles all the creatures, if that makes sense. Oh, they're all dead. That's kind of cool. Can I collect all their items? Thank you, giant mammoth, for killing all of these things. It's really convenient, actually, that they did. I thought we were going to have to get in this big fight over here, and it was going to go all badly. But luckily, it was okay. I don't know, this is kind of a neat world. I think it's one that's worth diving into. I would maybe be like, again, I hate to tell you Xbox One players all the time when I go and, do the occasional video showing stuff running off on the Xbox One. But this may be a further indicator that it's time to, like, upgrade. just gotta throw that out there a little bit, that maybe, stuff like this game kind of shows that it is upgrading time. It just, like, it looks so much better on the little video recording like preview thing I have when I'm doing my videos. Like, it does look a lot better than what I'm seeing on my 4K. Like, visually it is not super aesthetically pleasing on the 4K TV. I'll put it that way. I mean, it is like a really, really low resolution thing, but yeah, it's the console is struggling. I mean, it's not dying, but it's definitely it's in for the struggle there, which is kind of a surprise. It is amazing that I'm still even going back and playing this console. Like, I kind of thought I was just really, really done with it at a certain point, but I do come here and just get the odd game here or there, just to kind of look at them, see how they're running. It's neat, honestly. It's an interesting exercise to kind of take a look at, like, a scale of, the lowest end to the highest end, and we're not normally able to do that with consoles, so this is cool.